What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some crazy battles in the Great League Remix Cup on my way to hitting expert rank, using possibly the most unlikely of Carbink counters, Bullet Punch Pangoro. Now there are a lot of fighting types that have access to Bullet Punch, including Lucario, which I'm also using, but most of them also have access to counter, which is just a way better fast move. But Pangoro, having Snarl as its typical fast move, doesn't really have any fast move pressure, so I thought I'd give Bullet Punch a try, considering Carbink is the new top ranked Pokemon in the Great League meta. I've also got Golbat in the lead and double nukes Lucario in the back, so with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What's your favourite surprise fast move that you like to run in the Go Battle League that gives a Pokemon completely different coverage? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we lead Golbat into Golisopod. Great lead, the opponent safe swaps into their Carbink, and we respond with the Pangoro, and look at that Bullet Punch damage. These are non-stab Bullet Punches, by the way. I'm going to shield this up, they did farm up a ton. It is the Moonblast, that would easily one-shot us, but now I've got close to 100 energy. Gonna fire off a Night Slash here, just for the chance at a boost. We don't get the boost, but we do get the full Bullet Punch farm down, and we've got so much loaded energy that if they come back in with the Golisopod, I will be able to make it to 3 Night Slashes before they can make it to an X-Scissor to take us out. So I'm going to farm to the back-to-back here, already got off 1 Night Slash, and this grabs a shield from the Golisopod. We make it to the 3rd Night Slash before they get to the X-Scissor, and we get the Golisopod incredibly low already. So at this point, Pangoro has done his job. We took out the Carbink, and we got the Golisopod incredibly low, grabbing the shield back. I come in with Lucario anticipating an instant swap out, and the opponent is running Piloswine, so we are able to shield the Avalanche, go for a full counter farm down, and then just fully counter farm down the Golisopod from this range, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Golbat into Pidgeot. Now, I didn't realize this at the time, but this is a human catch-a-bug team where the theme of the team is just go straight Brave Bird and then swap into a Mudboy. And what I would recommend is at the start of every new meta, you definitely want to watch human catch-a-bugs team videos, because even if you don't plan on using those teams, he goes into great depth about how to run those teams. So if you do end up facing them, you pretty much know exactly what the opponent's going to do. But here I'm able to swap, randomly catch a charge move. It is the Stone Edge, which is resisted by Pangoro. Now they do make it to a Mud Bomb. Unfortunately, I got denied there. I think it's just a slight bit of lag there, but I will just about make it to a close combat. Now this is not quite going to be enough damage to take out the Quagsire, but it gets them incredibly low, and I'm pretty confident that they're not going to be able to make it to a Stone Edge, and they throw straight away. This is just going to be a Mud Bomb. We do easily tank it. It is single resisted by the Flying and Poison type. Now the opponent comes back in with their Pidgeot. We're going to go for a Poison Fang straight away, and then swap into Lucario, trying to snipe them with the counter damage, but they respond with Whiscash. Now, this is exactly why I'm running close combat. This is not enough energy for the Shadow Ball, so the opponent lets it go through, and now I've put them into range where even if they got back-to-back Mud Bombs, the counter goes through. I'm able to take out the Whiscash, take out the Pidgeot, and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Carbink in the lead this time around, so not a great lead. Gonna say swap into Lucario, and the opponent responds with Cresselia. Now this isn't the worst matchup. We do have Shadow Ball, which is gonna hit for massive super effective damage or grab a shield. And I've got a shield advantage. At this point, I'm happy to let Lucario go down, but the opponent baits with the Grass Knot. Now, I'm thinking if I can get both shields down, then I'm going to put my Pangoro in a great position to sweep this game, assuming they haven't got a Fairy type in the back. Now, I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball here, throwing just before they make it to the next charge move, grabbing both shields from the Cresselia, and I can happily let the Lucario go down. All shields are now down on my opponent's end. Going to come in with my Golbat, assuming that they have only got Grass Knot and Moonblast, so we should be able to overfarm massively in this matchup. They go for the Moonblast. I'm going to farm to almost 100 energy, go for the Shadow Ball here. This will be taking out the Cresselia. They're going to come back in with the Carbink. We swap into Pangoro and up a shield. This is actually a positive matchup because we're running Bullet Punch, whereas Snarl would normally be resisted by the fighting typing. Bullet Punch is neutral, and these Bullet Punches have added up over time to where close combat takes out the Chestnut. They come back in with the Carbink. We are debuffed in our defense defense, but they're running a rock-type fast move, so it doesn't do much damage. We go for the close combat. We was going for the second close combat there. The opponent does have to throw a rock slide to take us out, but we can easily now make it to the Shadow Ball, and from this range, this will be enough damage to take out the Carbink, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Golbat into Cresselia. So a pretty decent matchup, assuming they're not running Future Sight, which typically they're not going to be running. I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball here straight away, and Shadow Ball does go unshielded. The opponent then swaps into a Dub Ball, so I'm going to stay in this matchup initially, go for a Poison Fang here, and we're then going to see what I want to do. I'm going to overfarm and then swap and catch the charge move. I'm not expecting a wild charge. It ends up being a payback, which is resisted. It still does about half our health, but this should just be a body slam, and once again that will be resisted. We barely hang on there. Regain switch advantage, also not using a shield, so that ended up being perfect. But it kind of depends what they've got in the back, so I'm going to wait on my switch clock before coming back in with my Golbat. The opponent has a Diggersby in the back. Now this is a little bit tricky here. We do resist the Mud Shots and the Earthquake, but we can't hit for any super effective damage or even neutral damage with the fast move. So I'm going to tank a Fire Punch and then swap into my Pangoro. Now a close combat, especially with the Poison Fang debuff, will easily one-shot them, but it's just a call of whether they're going to use a shield or call that we're baiting. So I go for the close combat here. This should be grabbing a shield or taking them out. We grab the shield and we make it to another close combat on the CMP tie, and this will grab the final shield from the opponent, but it gets us incredibly low with our defense. In fact, Fire Punch nearly takes us out. They come in, they snipe with resisted Psycho Cuts there, which is really unfortunate. I go for the Shadow Ball straight away, taking out Cresselia, and now it just depends, can we make it to the back-to-back Poison Fangs in time before they reach back-to-back Fire Punches? It's a CMP tie. Do they have any residual energy here, or will I be able to wing attack, farm down this Diggersby? No, unfortunately, they do have another Fire Punch loaded. Fire Punch, gonna take out the Golbat, and I do unfortunately lose that game. But well played to that opponent. Into the next battle, we see Carbink in the lead once again. So once again, gonna say swap into my Lucario, and we can typically grab a shield advantage into whatever swaps in, but we are actually just gonna be able to completely flip this matchup if we want to. We go for the close combat there. I thought maybe they might let that go through, but they do end up shielding. They go for a body slam, but the opponent overfarms there. I'm not sure what they were doing, but I'm able to just fully farm them down there, and that puts me in a really good position, although I was expecting the Carbink to come back in. I go for the close combat, but we grab the shield anyways into the Cresselia, and now we're just in a really, really strong position here. I don't have to throw a move. I hope that they're not running Future Sight, but they don't even throw. They swap into the Carbink, and now there's no way we lose this. All I have to do is shield once. They might bait me with a Rock Slide. They do bait me, but it does not matter. I can overfarm massively, go for a Night Slash. I know this still won't be taking them out, but I will be able to farm them down, come out with 2 Night Slashes loaded. Doesn't matter if they throw straight away because I've got a Shadow Ball loaded on my Golbat as well, but the Night Slash does connect. The opponent doesn't throw straight away. We get off a second Night Slash, get them incredibly low. They have to throw a charge move here. But the opponent goes for Grass Knot. It still doesn't take me out, so I swap into my Golbat. We can go for the Shadow Ball straight away, taking out the Cresselia, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Golbat into Toxapex. So a pretty neutral lead here, even though we are resisting the Poison Jab damage. Toxapex is just incredibly bulky, and Shadow Ball, whilst it does hit hard, it's non-stab, so we do need 2 Shadow Balls plus quite a few wing attacks to take them out here. So I let the first Brine go through, doesn't do much damage, but we both go into the yellow health around the same time, and I'm going to shield this up, and then I'm going to overfarm in this matchup, because I'm expecting with a Toxapex in the lead, they might be running like double counter in the back, or double dark, or something similar to that, so I kind of need to preserve the health on my Golbat, and the opponent does come in with the counter user. They come in with a Vigoroth, so this is not the ideal situation. I'm going to let the body slam go through. It will take me out here, but now I can come in with my Lucario, but they've got a Scrafty in the back. Now this is not looking too good for us. I'm going to tank the Power Up Punch and hope that they're expecting me to run Power Up Punch as well, so they will be able to live it. But no, they do shield the close combat, and yeah, I kind of had a rough idea of what the team comp is, but I should have played it differently. I needed to maybe bait out the counter users at some point, but I don't know, maybe preserve the health on my Golbat a bit more, but GG's to that opponent. And into the next battle, we see Lickitung in the lead, so gonna stay in this lead matchup initially, wait for them to throw some energy, and then swap into my Pangoro. We do resist the lick damage, but we're also not hitting for too much damage with our fast move. The opponent responds with a Primate, so I'm going to go straight for the close combat. Either they shield it and they get minimal farm down, or they let it go through and we nuke them. So they do shield it up, and they should still only be able to get to one charge move. As we come in with the Golbat, we're going to go for the charge move straight away, losing the CMP tie, but the Poison Fang plus the wing attacks should be able to farm them down before they make it to the next Ice Punch. So we go for the Poison Fang, lower their defense, we get the farm down before they get to that Ice Punch, and now we're going to swap into Lucario, and I'm just going to let this move go through. It is resisted. Lucario is glassy. You typically need to shield everything, but that's one thing we don't actually need to shield. The opponent now comes in with a Drifblim, going to go straight for the Shadow Ball. No point in baiting, because that would probably put me into range where they could fully farm me down, because I would debuff my defense. The opponent goes for the Mystical Fire. We're going to come back in with the Golbat, go for a Shadow Ball here, and this will be taking out the Drifblim. And now can we reach 2 Poison Fangs to take out the Lickitung? It's going to be incredibly close. We get off the Poison Fang straight away. Can we get to the second Poison Fang in time? Yes, we just about make it in time, and with the debuff, this Poison Fang will be enough damage to take them out. The opponent has probably just rage quit the app here, but we're able to take out the Lickitung and take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Golbat into Wormadam Trash. Now, I make a mistake here. I was expecting it to be a Confusion Wormadam, so I swap out straight away, but I was wrong. It ended up being a Bug Bite Wormadam, which is actually a really dominant matchup for the Golbat, so big misplay here, but I'm now going to come in with my Golbat. I will be able to shield once and then fully farm them down. If they go for a Night Slash, then I won't have to shield the next one. If they go for Brave Bird, then I can safely farm them down because they would debuff their defense. But it is Night Slash. We do let the next one go through, and we do just about get the wing attack farm down. And the opponent is going to wait out the Switch Hawk before coming in with a Carbink. Now, Lucario is actually going to be really positive in the matchup up against both the Wormadam and the Carbink, because we do double resist the fast moves from both Pokemon. I let the move go through, probably should have shielded it up there, but now I'm going to go for a Shadow Ball, grabbing the final shield. Didn't want to debuff my defense, and actually I think because they throw on alignment, I'm going to be able to fully counter, farm down this Wormadam. I've got a ton of energy on my Golbat, so going to go for the close combat. Unfortunately, we don't quite make it to the back-to-back, but the first one does big damage. We can now go for a Poison Fang, and we will have a Shadow Ball loaded. So I'm going to debuff their defense first, now go for the Shadow Ball, and this should be pretty much taking out the Carbink from this range. They do barely live it, but one more wing attack takes them out before they get to a rock slide, and I'm able to take that game. Into the next battle, see a Golbat mirror match. Now, this is a bit awkward because my 2 Pokemon in the back are pretty useless up against Golbat, so I will respect the damage here. Hopefully they don't bait, and they do full send the Shadow Ball. They now swap into a Shadow Steelix, and this is a scenario where it would be so much better if we were running Power Up Punch as a counter swap to a save swap Steel type or like normal type, for example. But here we have to full send the close combat. The opponent shields it up, and they would have been able to farm us down just about. We get the counter through. I could have shielded, regained switch advantage, but I know that a loaded Golbat is pretty deadly for my backline, so I'm actually going to come in with the Pangoro. We get a resisted Bullet Punch farm down. I'm expecting Golbat to come back in. We go straight for a Night Slash here, and then I'm going to try and catch the potential Poison Fang onto my own Golbat. We swap there. I wasn't going to throw straight away, expecting them to then make a catch, and they do swap into an Alolan Sandslash, so we do make it to the back-to-back Shadow Balls in time. This should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, but they do rightly overfarm massively. At this point, I can't shield this up because they will make it to another Ice Punch before I get to another Shadow Ball. And now, unfortunately, Bullet Punch is decent when it's super effective, but non-stab, when it is just neutral damage, it's not enough to take out the Sandslash here. So I have to throw on the CMP tie. Night Slash takes them out, but the opponent did have a Poison Fang loaded, and we're just too far away from the Night Slash. One more wing attack takes us out, and we do unfortunately lose that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Golbat into Cresselia, so once again, a pretty decent lead. The opponent safe swaps into Shadow Quagsire. Because it takes 1 turn to swap, I'm going to go for a Shadow Ball straight away, 1 turn before they make it to the Stone Edge, and the opponent lets it go through, so I'm happy to shield this up. I will now be able to fully wing attack, farm them down, before they even make it to a Mud Bomb, so that's massive for me. And now we're going to see the opponent comes in with a Sandslash, so I swap into my Lucario. I know they are still switch locked, so I don't mind Lucario going down. The Sandslash is easily low enough for me to take it out, even with my Golbat, so I don't really care that we let Lucario go down. And now they come back in with Cresselia. We've got an energy advantage on my Pangoro. Night Slashes are really going to chunk this Cresselia. The first one, well, I say chunk, it only did about 35% of its health, but we have now got it into the yellow health here. Going to shield this up, and the switch clock is coming up very soon, so I can go for a Night Slash here, grab a shield from my opponent, swap into my Golbat. They do still have a shield remaining, but I might as well just go for the Shadow Ball. It takes out the Cresselia, and the opponent just concedes the match there. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Golbat into another Cresselia, so a pretty common lead, and I feel pretty comfortable leading into the Cresselia. Typically, they aren't running Future Sight, so here, gonna go for a Shadow Ball on the potential CMP tie with a Future Sight, and the opponent does shield it up. I'm happy to let this move go through. And the opponent is actually running Future Sight, so it one-shots the Golbat, and now that is not great. But they've got a normal type in the back, and I'm hoping maybe that means they've got double normal in the back. We go for the close combat, we grab the shield, and now swap into Lucario, anticipating the opponent to go straight for a body slam. That's exactly what they do, and now there's no point in me using a charge move here. All I'm going to have to do is shield once, fully counter farm them down, and if they come back in with Cresselia, we've got that Shadow Ball to hit for massive super effective damage. And the opponent is waiting out the switch clock here, thinking about what to do. They come back in with the Cresselia, so we go for the Shadow Ball, and this will do a ton of damage to the Cresselia, and I will actually be able to fully counter farm them down. They're staying in with the Cresselia, so I'm expecting that they're very weak to Lucario in the back, and they come in. It is a Regirock, so we go straight for the close combat, and close combat one-shots the Shadow Regirock there, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see Golbat into Drifblim. So a pretty difficult lead matchup here. Of course, they could be running Icy Wind. They throw straight away, so they probably are running it. Probably not a Mystical Fire. It is the Icy Wind. I'm now going to go for a Shadow Ball and then swap into my Pangoro, as we do resist the Shadow or the Ghost type damage here from this Drifblim. So I'm going to let this move go through. The opponent's going to go and debuff my attack with the Icy Wind, which is unfortunate. They now come in to a Quagsire. Going to go for a close combat here on the CMP type, I believe, with the Mud Bomb, and the opponent does throw straight away. So I'm happy to let the Pangoro go down, preserve my shields for my Golbat or my Lucario. I'm actually probably going to come in with my Lucario here and just farm up a ton of energy. Whilst the Mud Shots are super effective, they're not doing that much damage, and we can safely shield once, go for a full farm down, and if they come back in with the Drifblim, we will have a Shadow Ball to throw, and so they do come back in with the Drifblim. We go for full counters, go for the Shadow Ball, and now Shadow Ball does grab the final shield from the opponent. We swap, we try to make a catch. The opponent's going to overfarm here before coming in with a Scrafty, and now I've got to be pretty intricate about this. I have to try and undercharge perfectly so that I get a full counter farm down, coming out with a Shadow Ball loaded, as I know Drifblim does have a charge move loaded, but I think I didn't undercharge enough here. We're going to shield this up. It is the Power Up Punch, and we take them out. We don't have the Shadow Ball loaded, and triple resisted. A close combat is not taking out Drifblim. They're actually running Mystical Fire there. They take out the Lucario, and unfortunately we do lose that game, but GG's to that opponent. And into the next battle, we see Shadow Dragonite in the lead. The opponent safe swaps into Galvantula, so a pretty spicy team so far. And also a pretty difficult team for me to deal with. They go for the lunge, that does quite a lot of damage. I will make it to a Night Slash here, but I don't think I'm going to make it to a second one. We get the boost, which is really unfortunate because it doesn't really help us in any way, shape or form. But I'm going to wait out my switch clock here. I'm going to come in with my Lucario. I think I should be calling a bait here. I think that's my only win condition. I showed it up, but it is just a lunge. That's double resisted. That really does hurt. And now the opponent comes back in with Dragonite. We're going to go straight for a Shadow Ball and then swap into my Shadow Golbat. The opponent lets it go through. I don't have a clue how much damage that did because we didn't get to see it. But they've got the Denate in the back with 2 shields. Yeah, I'm just not winning this. If I preserved the shield and didn't shield the lunge on my Lucario, then we might have some play here, but as things stand, it's just not looking too good for us. We will make it to 2 Poison Fangs, grabbing both shields from the opponent, but they can rightly overfarm massively. And yeah, there's just not a lot I can do. Discharge takes me out, and they will be able to make it to another Discharge to take out my Lucario from this range. and my opponent is able to take me out with a very spicy team. So fair play to that opponent for running a very unique team in this meta. But into the next battle, we see Magneton in the lead, not a good lead. So I'm going to Safe Swap into my Pangoro, and the opponent responds with Whimsicott running Fairy Wind. So their fast move is double super effective. But we get the boost here, and I'm able to overfarm, go for a Night Slash, and I'm actually going to be able to force a shield or take switch advantage here. So I'm actually happy with the shield advantage, knowing that Golbat will be able to force a shield into the Magneton with a Shadow Ball, and I can safely sponge anything if this Whimsicott does make it to a charge move, but they don't even throw. And now they come back in with the Magneton. I have to shield this up. Discharge might even one-shot me from this range. I don't have a clue, to be honest, but we're going to go for the Shadow Ball and then swap into my Lucario, grabbing the final shield, and the opponent's got a Victory Bell in the back, not even a Shadow, but we can make it to the Shadow Ball, and this is easily going to be enough damage to take out the Victory Bell, and we should be able to counter farm them down before they get to back-to-back charge moves, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, we see a Shadow Sandslash in the lead, not a good lead. Gonna Safe Swap into my Lucario here, and the reason for that is because I actually want those couple of counters worth of damage to register, so if it is the end game with my Golbat, a Shadow Ball might be enough damage to take them out, whereas if I Safe Swapped into my Pangoro, got off a few bullet punches, it just doesn't do enough chip damage. So here, gonna come in with my Golbat, we completely wall this Buzzwole here, so I can fully fast move farm them down. They should be going for back-to-back lunges, but they actually go for superpower, giving me less farm, which kind of makes sense, but kind of counteracts the fact that they did throw a lunge initially. But they come back in with the Sandslash, we go for the Shadow Ball straight away, and that does grab a shield, so we swap into Pangoro, and the opponent's staying in with their Sandslash, so I'm actually going to let this move go through. You might think it's a bit of a weird play, but they come in with Cresselia, so I was anticipating that. They didn't have the best response to Pangoro in the back, and luckily we do resist these Psycho Cuts, so we're in no risk of them farming me down. And what I can actually do is farm to a Night Slash and a close combat, and then that should leave me with enough energy to fully sweep this game. We go for the Night Slash. It actually barely doesn't take them out, but we do at least have one shield remaining. Gonna shield up the Grass Knot, go for the farm down. We have the close combat loaded to throw into the Sandslash, coming back in, and close combat is easily gonna one-shot the Sandslash, and we take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next battle, going up against Yonkers' brother, and he always complains about how he gets hard-walled by his brother, but he's doing exactly the same to us here. It's not looking too good for us. I Safe Swap into my Pangoro. This time we did Safe Swap into Pangoro. Kind of should have done what I did last game here, but we didn't, and they do just about live the close combat, fully farm me down, and they give me no farm whatsoever. So either a really smart play by this opponent or just very fortunate. But now we don't even come out with a Shadow Ball loaded. They get to the charge move before we get there. Gonna shield this up, and I will go for the Shadow Ball, grabbing a shield, and then I'm going to swap into my Lucario, but they've probably got a pretty good response to my Lucario in the back. We actually overfarm there, trying to catch an Ice Punch, not able to do so. The opponent goes for the Drill Run, grabbing my final shield, and they've got a Como-O in the back. Now, probably should have gone for the Shadow Ball there, because this would then force them to go for a close combat, but now because I debuff my defense, they can just go straight for a Dragon Claw. Excuse me there, and now I won't be able to wing attack farm them down, and if I was able to wing attack farm down the Como-O here, Shadow Ball might have been enough damage to take them out, but yeah, I think a bit of a misplay, but also a pretty tricky team to go up against. But speaking of tricky, we see Shadow Galvantula, a massive core breaker to this team, and we Safe Swap into Pangoro. We bait out a Tapu Fini. I should just about live a Surf from this range. I wanted them to throw their energy straight away. We go for a close combat. This is going to do a lot of damage, even though it's resisted. Not enough to take them out there for sure, but it does put them into wing attack farm down range, but unfortunately they do make it to a last second surf, so I'm going to shield this up, but I do come out with a lot of energy, so going to go for one wing attack and then go for a Poison Fang, assuming it is the Galvantula that comes back in, which it is, and now I should be able to go for one more wing attack, go for another Poison Fang before they make it to the potential discharge, and that's actually massive for me, as I will grab all shields from the opponent. They actually go for the farm down, and then they swap into Chestnut. They're not able to snipe me with that one Volt Switch, so I swap into my Lucario. The opponent goes for a charge move here, but close combat takes out the Chestnut before they can get it off, and now I'm actually going to shield this up just because I don't think they're quite in range for me to take them out with a Poison Fang, but now they are definitely in range, so gonna let Discharge take me out. Gonna go for the Poison Fang straight away. I could have gone for one extra wing attack, but I didn't want to take any risks and potentially lose to lag, so I go for it straight away. It is enough damage to take out the Shadow Galvantula, and I'm able to take that game. And into the next battle, we see Toxapex in the lead once again, so once again, kind of have a suspicion that it's going to be like a Scrafty or a Vigoroth or a double in the back, but not really sure how to play this out, so I'm going to let this move go through. And it is the Brine, of course, and now I might swap into my Lucario, but no, I'm going to overfarm once again, preserve a lot of energy onto my Purified Golbat. We're now going to go for the Shadow Ball, and this will be taking out the Toxapex. I actually undercharge it just in case they did let it go through, so I get just slightly more farm, but they do shield it up, and now we go for the Shadow Ball, and the opponent comes in with a Quagsire, we're going to go straight for the close combat. This should be grabbing a shield from the opponent. Going to give them like one less counter. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, but I'm going to come back in with my Golbat and just force them to throw their energy straight away. And so they are going to go for the charge move straight away, and it is a Leaf Blade, so they're probably running Brave Bird, so they do unfortunately counter farm me down, but they are in range where I can fully counter farm them down, and now it just depends. Was it a Shadow Quagsire? No, it's just a regular Quagsire. We go for the close combat on the CMP tie with the Mud Bomb, but close combat doesn't quite take them out. If it was a Shadow, we would have one-shot them there, but unfortunately, Mud Bomb is going to take out my Lucario, and I do lose that game. But GG's to the opponent there, and into the next battle. Speaking of Shadow Quagsire, we lead into it, but the opponent safe swaps into a Galvantula, so I'm going to go for 6 wing attacks, go for the Poison Fang, and I'm actually going to stay in this matchup, get off another Poison Fang. I'm going to shield this up, probably going to be a lunge bait. It is unfortunately the bait there. They debuff my attack, but I'm going to debuff their defense, so it doesn't really matter. We got the final shield from the opponent. We're now going to swap into my Pangoro, and I know that even though the Golbat is very low, we're not at risk of being farmed down by the Quagsire. So, going to go for the Night Slash here into this Galvantula. I actually undercharge it, hoping it wouldn't quite take them out, but it does. And now they're able to farm me down, but then they randomly swap into Drifblim here, catching a Night Slash, which is super effective, by the way. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter because Lucario still has to go for a Shadow Ball to take them out, which would one-shot them from full health pretty much. But here I'm able to swap, catch the charge move onto my Golbat, and it is the Shadow Ball, which is massive for me. I can now overfarm in this matchup, go for a Shadow Ball on the CMP tie with the next charge move, and this Shadow Ball will be taking out the Drifblim. And like I was saying earlier, if it was a Shadow Quagsire in the last battle, we would have won, but now you're definitely going to be able to see that is the case as we go for the close combat here on the CMP tie with the second Mud Bomb, and close combat takes out the Shadow Quagsire, and I'm able to take that game. And now going into the final battle before I hit Expert, we lead into Alolan Marowak, so pretty decent lead for us here. We do resist the Bone Club, so they have to go for the Shadow Bone or Shadow Ball, or potentially Fire Blast if they're running it. We go for a Shadow Ball, grabbing the shield, and then I swap to catch the potential Shadow Bone on my Pangoro, and it was the Shadow Bone, so that's perfect for me. We are now going to go for a Night Slash here. This isn't going to do as much damage as the Shadow Ball, so the opponent does rightly let it go through. I'm now going to let this move go through as well. Bone Club doesn't do much damage, but because we're running Bullet Punch, it is resisted. They do get the farm down. They probably come out with a Bone Club loaded, but I don't think this is enough energy for the Shadow Bone, so I will let it go through on my Golbat, and it is just the Bone Club, so that's fine. We do get the farm down. Let's see what the opponent has. They come in with a Guzzlord, so we swap into our Lucario. We're just going to go straight for the Shadow Ball here, of course, and this will do a ton of damage if the opponent lets it go through, which they do, and now I should be able to fully counter farm them down. I'm hoping we get the farm down before they make it to the second surf here, but we don't quite get there. Now that's really unfortunate. I have to use both my shields because this Guzzlord can only throw resisted moves. They are going to throw straight away. It's just a Dragon Claw, doesn't do much damage, and now I'm expecting the opponent's thinking it's just a Parrot Punch, right? I can let it go through, but that's wrong. We take them out with the close combat, and I'm able to take that game there, going 4-1 in my final set. Just going to quickly catch whatever Pokemon this is. Marini, pretty rubbish throw there, but we do hit Expert. And yeah, so that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already, and also let me know if you've seen many Carbink in your battles so far. I saw on my poll around 15% of you said that you did have one and were planning to use it, but I only saw about 4 in 50 battles, which is a lot less than 15%, but just let me know. And also, if you want to see more content like this in the future, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.